Let me just say, my dear sister, that when we talk about the crisis in the Sudan, that we are talking about a crisis that has been deemed by the United Nations to be the worst humanitarian crisis on the planet. I think we need to be aware of that. It is internationally recognized to be the worst humanitarian crisis on the planet. But when we look at the response of the so-called international community to the crisis, it is woefully inadequate. Worse yet, when we look on the African continent and the African Union, one has to ask the question, what is the purpose of the African Union? Because it has been totally ineffectual in this particular crisis. African blood is being shed. African lives are being wasted in the thousands. Millions of people are being displaced, both internally and externally, creating situations of insanitary conditions that our people are living in. Hunger, disease is the order of the day for millions of Africans in the Sudan, a rich country in terms of its natural resources and its human resources. And then there is the instability that is created in the region where millions of people are spilling over into bordering nations. That is the situation. We're talking about a crisis more than 10, 20 times more severe than what is happening in Gaza. And Gaza is on the news every day, but we hear little or nothing about what is happening in the Sudan. And that is because we live in a world where African humanity has been reduced to something below human consideration, something below even the status of animals. Because if animals were suffering in any part of the world in the way Africans are suffering in the Sudan, there would be more cohesive responses, serious responses to that situation. So we as Africans have to understand that we are our own liberators. We are our own protectors. We are our own healers. We have got to generate the force globally that is going to put pressure on the so-called international community, since we don't have our own international mechanism in place, or even our own continental mechanism in place. We who call ourselves Pan-Africanists, we who call ourselves freedom fighters, we have got to bring pressure to bear on the governments of the nations that we live in and on the so-called international community to make the appropriate responses. So I'll just make that brief comment and leave it there.
Tenamwari, Rise Up Families, you've heard from Brother Leader Bandaka there. It really is up to us, as individuals or within our organizations, we're doing all that we can to bring pressure onto the powers that be to be doing something, saying something about what's happening in Sudan right now. Imagine the worst atrocities that's happening in the world today, worse than what's going on in Palestine, and we hardly hear anything about it.